Here now to weigh in on this newest twist in this case is legal analyst and trial attorney Misty Marris. Misty, it's great to see you again. First of all, what is your reaction, not only to the prosecution's revelation of these hidden heart-shaped notes, but also the defense's claims that they were inadvertently included with his clothing?
Yes, didn't expect to see these heart-shaped notes, which apparently were in a pair of Argyle socks. As we know, Luigi Mangione, at his last court appearance, was given special permission by the court to wear something other than what would normally be prison garb. And that's something that has to be requested and approved. So the reason that these notes even came to be is because they were hidden in these socks. Now, the defense team says they don't know how they got there, and prosecution is calling them contraband. But Nicole, let's think about why this is happening. It's because Luigi Mangione's defense team is asking for additional special privileges. They're asking for Luigi Mangione to have a special computer while he's behind bars, not for communicating with the outside world, but for the purpose of being able to look at some of the documentary and electronic evidence that is significant in this case. It's something that happens at this detention center with many, many individuals who are charged with crimes that have a heavy document load. So what the prosecutors are doing is they're saying, no, he cannot have any additional special privileges because, see, these notes were snuck in as contraband. And so that's where we're seeing this argument play out. The notes themselves, prosecutors say this is contraband, which would be something that could harm officers. Defense is saying, how could heart-shaped notes that we have no idea what they are harm officers? But the notes are one thing, but it's part of this bigger narrative of will he get these special privileges while he's incarcerated?
Yeah, so I want to ask you about that. I mean, because again, the senior trial counsel claims that, he's getting these special accommodations due to his, quote, fashion needs. And considering that normally incarcerated individuals typically wear jail-issued clothing, many times it's orange, those jumpsuits. Do you think the discovery of these notes will impact future proceedings?
So when you're talking about contraband, when somebody has contraband, it's certainly something that can limit the privileges that an incarcerated individual can get. But from the defense point of view, they're saying, well, this isn't anything that's necessarily harmful. And in fact, it wasn't something that he or anyone else knew about. So it's not something he was like sneaking into the courtroom for instance. However, it's up to the judge and in a defense situation, especially with a high profile case. As a defense attorney, you're going to want to ask for that accommodation to wear something other than prison garb. And the argument is you don't want your client to look guilty before they're convicted, right? They're going to trial. You want them to appear in layman's clothes, much like when a trial occurs. Individuals don't sit there in prison wear. They'll sit there in clothes, normal street clothes, unless there's some other type of safety concern. So that's where this argument is coming from. Ultimately, it's up to the judge whether or not that is granted. I think, Nicole, we covered this together. There was so much chatter about what Luigi Mangione was wearing. We barely talked about the legal consequences of that hearing. It was about his loafers, about his outfit. And I think prosecutors are now seeing that and saying, well, maybe we need to scale back on some of this. So they're making every argument to stop that from moving forward.
And Misty, you mentioned that laptop. Prosecutors want the judge to deny this request for Mangione to get this laptop computer. He says he wants to be able to review evidence in the case. What are your thoughts?
So at that particular detention center, there's a lot of issues with it, very, very public issues. One is that it's difficult in cases that involve a lot of video. In cases that have a lot of electronic evidence, there's not as many resources as there are in other facilities. In fact, Nicole, another case that we're watching that's high profile, Diddy. In the Diddy case, his defense team had made the same argument in their bail petition, saying that it would be impossible for the electronic evidence to be reviewed in the facility as it stands. So that's why the defense is asking for this. That's another thing that's up to judicial discretion. It's often granted when the need arises based on the type of evidence. So it's really going to relate to how much is digital and whether or not the resources there are capable of handling what is needed. And that's something the defense team is going to present when they make this argument to the judge.
Do you think, Misty, that we do see this go to trial, or is there a possibility some type of deal will be made?
Yeah, I don't think there's going to be a deal. I think the stakes are too high in this case. And remember, Nicole, even when you've got the federal case, you've also got the state case. So there's just these two actions that are running parallel. And so even if there was a possibility at some point of that being resolved, a plea deal, you're still going to have the other case looming in the background. So I don't see a world where this case resolves. I think we're going to see a trial. And my goodness, all eyes are going to be on it.
100%. All right, legal analyst Misty Marris, thank you.
Thanks, Nicole.